Good afternoon. And today we have a pleasure of interviewing Dr. Polly Young-Eisendrath. She is a very prominent psychologist and author of 19 books. And she's also inventor of a dialogue therapy. That's a special, part of science and psychology, what couple can discuss situations and find the solutions. So we're going to find out more about that today. And again, thank you very much to our audience. And if you know someone who has a trouble sleeping or sleep next to the snoring partner, please click the like and share button. This way you can spread the word about our channel. Also, if you're a medical professional, please use our channel as a networking ground. This way, together we can find the answer to that difficult problem of a present time called sleep apnea, or in general problem with sleep. And I hope we can bring benefits to the life of our patients. So good afternoon, Polly.
Hello, Maria. Nice to see you.
And you can find a lot of information about Polly online, and I read on Wikipedia. And what I absolutely admire about Polly, what she uses a lot of spirituality in her treatment, and together with breathing technique and some Buddhism practices, and they help for the well-being. So my first question to you would be, what actually is dialogue therapy?
So dialogue therapy is a structured, time-limited therapy for couples who are having difficulties with repetitive conflict or avoidance of conflict, so that they cannot make decisions together and they cannot seem to establish a vital, intimate connection, because each person feels unseen, unknown, and really not witnessed by the other person. Often both people feel unwitnessed, unknown, unseen. It's as though they feel like, my partner doesn't get me. And so coming to dialogue therapy, they're opening up a space in which they can begin to speak for themselves, listen mindfully, remain curious, even through conflict. So it's a focus on having a humanizing atmosphere for conflict and problem solving.
It's like such a wise way how you put it. This is not the only book of yours what I read, but I think this is a great book what illustrate this strategy.
Yes.
And in general, I think in general with the modern technology, it's really hard to keep that art of communication. And I think with your help, people can find a better way. And how you mentioned about significance of the other person, very often, people feel that way, but they're not visible.
Yes. And often people do feel it's a problem of communication, but it's really a problem of dehumanization. That is, a person doesn't feel that they're being seen or known as a real human being with all of their vitality and their wounds and their difficulties. They feel like they're being boxed in to some kind of box that is like an object or like an enemy. And so that's often the issue that will bring couples into therapy. One or both people feel that they're unseen and unknown to the partner.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful way what you can help people that way. But I'm gonna tell to my audience again, thank you very much to our listeners. I'm gonna tell you what actually made me bring Polly to our channel. There are two, major things. I would like, we had a conversation, and a lot of my patients suffer, or they bring the complaints, but they feel tired during the day. They cannot focus. They can generally feel brain fogged. And I contribute that to interrupted REM sleep. People with sleep apnea have very often either absence of REM stage at all, or interrupted REM sleep. And yes, they they complain they don't have dreams. And what Polly mentioned to me, what there is a technique, but you can recall your dreams, and that way have a longer REM sleep. So I have a couple questions regarding that. Can you first of all explain to our audience importance of a deep sleep and REM sleep for overall sleep quality and mental well-being? Like why REM is so important?
So first of all, in order to have rapid eye movement sleep, which is what REM means, rapid eye movement, we have to fall into a very deep sleep first. And that's the way our brain works, is falling first into non-rapid eye movement. Our muscles are paralyzed, and we have this feeling that we're kind of outside of time and space. And then from that, we come into rapid eye movement sleep, which is when our eyes start moving around and our brain looks as though we're active. It looks like we're awake. And the way that we encounter that kind of dreaming is a little bit like the way we encounter our waking life. We see things, we do things, we move around, we have intentions, etc. Now, rapid eye movement sleep, we know from psychoanalysis and, of course, from indigenous cultures and from mythologies that our nighttime dreams process our emotional conflicts. They also process problems that we haven't solved, or conflicts that are perhaps cognitive or creative. So our nighttime dreams are a level of consciousness that we can witness to solve our problems that we cannot do when we're awake. And the reason is that when we're awake, we tend to be motivated by our egos, by the way we want things to turn out. We try to control things, we try to forecast them. And so often we don't solve the problems and we don't see the creative solutions. So our nighttime dreaming, rapid eye movement sleep, has traditionally been a part of problem solving, creativity, solving emotional difficulties in indigenous cultures. And then Freud, about 110 years ago, and following him then Carl Jung, and I'm a Jungian psychoanalyst, established that our nighttime dreams will give us information about ourselves that we cannot have in our waking life. So our dreams are a resource, but they're also, you might say, a diagnostic tool. If you're remembering rapid eye movement sleep, you know you've been sleeping deeply. And if you're not remembering it, you may not be sleeping deeply. It doesn't mean absolutely that you're not sleeping deeply, because sometimes the problem is your memory, not the other thing, that you're not deeply sleeping. But if you do remember your rapid eye movement sleep, it will tend to be something like a narrative story. And that story, you can read it almost like a poem. It will tell you symbolically something about yourself. So, it's a resource. Rapid eye movement sleep is a resource to you, has been always for humans, but also it's a sign, typically, that you are sleeping deeply.
Yes. No, but people, how to say, they take the dreams as a very precious gift. And I think when I heard about technique, but you can remember your dream, we had this conversation a month ago, and I was your good student, really. I have now a little
sleep
book,
journal.
sleep
a little
journal
book
next to my bed before, and I have a pencil. And that's what you taught me before I even open my eyes. Like I try not to move, not to disturb that. Like I hold, I repeat to myself. That's what I do. I repeat to myself what I just saw, and I get that pencil and I write into my journal. And sometimes the scrabble, it's hard to read, but I try to do that exercise every day. But I can tell you this from my experience, it's very hard. I know the benefits of a long REM sleep, or at least multiple episodes, because that's how REM happens.
Yes.
But I find even doing it for a month, I know it's probably not enough, but even doing that for a month on a regular basis, I find it extremely hard exercise. So please share with our audience what are specific technique or practices can help to enhance deep sleep? What do I do wrong? How
So
can I make it better?
So there are several things that you could call techniques. There are also, you could call them practices. And one is meditation. So if you do some mindfulness meditation during the day, maybe you take 10 minutes to do it, maybe you take a little longer. You're trying to sharpen your awareness. You're trying to sharpen your ability to be conscious when you're walking around, and then ultimately when you're in rapid eye movement. So sharpening your consciousness, one thing. Another easier thing is to put a tablet by your bed and remind yourself when you're falling asleep that you're going to want to remember when you're waking up what your dream is. And then, as you said very well, and exactly the way I would say it, when you awaken, don't move, because muscles are involved in all of this. Your muscles are paralyzed when you're in rapid eye movement. So if you don't move, you're more
I lost you for a moment.
likely to be able to bring that.
Mhm.
Muscles are paralyzed, when you're in rapid eye movement. So if you don't move, you're more likely to bring the dream across the boundary to waking consciousness, because you're in a different brainwave in waking consciousness. So bringing the dream across the boundary is a little like speaking a foreign language in another country. It's like you have to learn gradually to drag your original language into these new words. So in the dreaming thing, it's more like you're dragging imagery, mental imagery,
Wow.
into your waking awareness, and then you're going to write it down in words. By writing it with your hand, this is helpful too, not just typing or saying it, although any of those will be helpful. But again, muscles are involved, because your muscles are paralyzed in rapid eye movement, and then in your waking life, they are not. And you have to learn to bring the mental imagery across this boundary of your embodiment, where you seem disembodied in the dream and embodied in waking life. So practicing that, what was I just thinking? When you just wake up before you move, and then moving to get your dream journal and writing down maybe one word, maybe more than one word. If you remember an elaborate dream, yes, you can put it into your telephone, recording it, and then maybe later writing it down, because writing it down is going to help you remember more. So again, this is a practice. It is almost like visiting another country and learning their language, and you're visiting your own other country, and then you're bringing it into your waking language.
No, I think it's so beautiful what you said. So I'm going to resume it for me, repeat it for me. So when I fall asleep, actually, I think I mentioned that to you before, I kind of start remember the dream I had last night. And that give me a sign, but yes, I'm going to fall asleep soon. Like I see that image, but I cannot tell for sure what it is all about, but I just remember what I saw it. So that's very good. Like I learned that technique. But when I wake up, trying not to move, maybe if it works for me, repeat my dream verbally without moving, but I can hear myself speaking, talking about that. And then based on that, maybe record it on the phone, or maybe record from reciting it and write it down, with a pencil in the journal, and then try to, get more details while I'm writing it.
Yes, yes. So the reason why it's so difficult is that we are in a different brainwave state when we're sleeping. The other reason why it's so difficult is that a lot of times we don't pay attention to what is happening when we're in waking life. We're all about 99% unconscious when we're doing things. So when we're in our dreaming life, we may also not be paying very much attention. Things are just happening, but we don't have awareness of them. And so again, another thing that's really helpful about remembering dreams is it's teaching you to be aware of mental imagery when you're asleep, which is very much like the experiences that you will have in dying. You will have mental imagery and you will feel like you're asleep. And if you pay attention, you can train your mind to be alert even when you're in difficult circumstances. And of course, not only dying, but other kinds of crises or other kinds of awakenings, like taking various kinds of mind altering drugs or childbirth. All of these experiences have these mental images that are like rapid eye movement. And so when you learn your rapid eye movement memories every night, you're training your mind to be aware of mental image in other situations too.
That's great. So now I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. We're moving towards the end of our interview about snoring situation. I know that's the problem that arises a lot in my practice. And I'm going to ask you a question in general, and then I want to get the practical advice for my listeners. So do you have a strategy how with dialogue therapy or in any way that topic can be brought up between partners? Because usually one partner has a disturbed sleep and another partner who actually snore thinks, had idea what, she or he sleep well. And they cannot find the common ground. And I think it's kind of, in a way, it's tragic. It's also miscommunication, different perception of the situation. And sometimes, snoring is a ground for joke. It's a laughing matter. People make fun of it, but it's not. It's actually serious health condition. And it's also a really detrimental factor in a partner relationship. What, as a, therapist, please give us the recommendation how to bring that up into the conversation in a not hostile way.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing to keep in mind is that when our sleep is disturbed, so let's talk first about the partner whose sleep is disturbed. When our sleep is disturbed, we are irritable and we are often waking up with annoyance, or maybe we're not even fully awake. We're pushing the partner or we're pounding on the partner because we're not awake. We want them to shut up and to stop. And so often that way of being communicated with, let's say, the other person is receiving this as hostility, and the other person is experiencing it perhaps as a disruption to their sleep, and then there may be a hostility both ways. So that's not unusual. That is really kind of common, the whole scenario. And I think at the very first level, all of us need to recognize that as we age, we're very likely to snore, at least for a period of time. And so to allow for this deep sense that this is human, this is forgivable, it's understandable. And so if you're the partner who's listening to the snoring or gets disrupted, as much as possible, try to be kind. Try to, recognize this is my friend. Dog snores. I don't push the dog like I push my partner sometimes because I'm kind to my dog. But with my partner, I assume some kind of intentionality, like you're waking me up. So we need to be careful, to be kind, to recognize also that it's human, to recognize that we also probably snore, but we don't know it. And so all of those things play into it. Now, I think in terms of techniques, the only thing I would say is to be as kind as possible and try not to hit your partner. But if you do hit your partner, apologize for it later because, maybe you weren't intending to. So putting this all in the framework of this is human, and all of us are vulnerable to this behavior as we grow older, and let's try to be as nice as possible about it.
That's a great advice.
Yeah, and then the other part of it is, okay, even after you get wonderful advice from Dr. Maria about how to stop the snoring and how to eliminate this as much as possible, you may still be snoring. And if there's a lot of sleep disturbance for partners, then I would suggest that you don't sleep together at night. You can have sex together, you can do all sorts of things together, but you don't necessarily have to sleep together, because having good sleep and having restful sleep and having a sleep where your partner's not pounding on you may be more important than actually sharing that bed, especially as you get older. I mean, I think when you're younger, people sleep more soundly. They also tend not to snore. Often sharing a bed is very cozy, and it can be really very intimate. But as you get older, sometimes it's combat zone because people just feel so disturbed. So then you don't have to share a bed, and then you can negotiate that and say, at least I will be leaving if I hear you snoring, and I don't want to wake you. I will be leaving, and it's not personal. I love you, but I'm going to the other room.
I think it's such a wonderful advice. So be kind and nice to your partner and bring it up in a conversation in not hostile way. And hopefully, you can find help in a different way, through oral appliance therapy or CPAP machine or myofunctional therapy. There are a lot of different techniques what you can try, but if it brought up with the kindness, most likely you're going to have a success with the sleep and in the relationship. So thank you very much, Polly. We really appreciate your presence on our channel, and I highly recommend to our listeners read Polly's book. This one is great, Love Between Equals, and as well as other 18 books Polly wrote. They're also very good. Thank you.